my name is Lisa Potter. I'm a science writer here at the University of Utah, and I'm so excited. I'm here talking today with Dr. Massood Tabib-Azar, an electrical and computer engineering professor here at the U. And he's going to talk to us about a technology he's developing that's a portable sensor that really quickly will be able to detect the presence of the novel coronavirus. Thank you so much for talking with us about this technology.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you for having me. It is a great pleasure to discuss the sensor that I have been developing for some time now. So do you want me to kind of explain how the sensor works, or how do we go about doing it?
Absolutely. So, especially right now where Utah's opening up, other states are opening up, and so there's a higher rate of transmission as people are interacting, and it's really important, to be able to track who gets exposed to this virus. So can you start by kind of explaining the technology and how it works, and then how it differs from the current testing methods that we're using?
Sure. So the sensor is based on an older version of the sensor for Zika virus, and it is composed of kind of metallic contacts that we put specific molecules on it that they like to attach themselves to some part of the virus. So in the case of coronavirus, there are these spiking proteins. There are two kinds, S1 and S2. And the single strands that we have on our sensors, they like to bind with those spiking proteins and then trap the virus into the sensor. And then once the virus is there, then we look at the electrical signals to know if we have detected a virus or not. And so the information then can be either used in a standalone system. So the red LED can kind of turn on, saying that there's virus in this environment or in somebody's particulates that when we talk, we kind of emit, or coughing or sneezing. And the standalone system can be paired with a cell phone in order to provide more information. So the newer version of the system that I'm developing has these sensors to detect biomarkers. These are kind of analytes and chemicals that our body produces in response to the infection by the coronavirus. And by using some artificial intelligence type of programming, we can estimate the stage of the infection, whether the infection is 1 week old or 2 weeks old or whatever, and its severity, whether it is symptomatic or it's not showing any symptoms. So that's where we are. And as you know, with any kind of product or sensor development, you have to go through many, many different prototypes, and we are at the prototype number 2 stage. So we are kind of working day and night to get this out to help people kind of get a little bit more confidence regarding their environment and themselves and their loved ones and their families.
Right. And so just to be clear, it's pretty amazing, right? It's only like the size of a quarter, and you can use it, right?
That's right. So I will share a little kind of slide on this. So this kind of shows the whole scheme. So this is kind of a standalone sensor. Actually, we have updated this with those biomarker sensors, but this shows the basics of the sensing the coronavirus. And you guys can see this on your web. Cool.
Yeah.
So when you speak to this, there are these particulates. They're mostly saliva, and then if there are coronavirus and stuff, they're floating inside of that. It comes and kind of deposits over the surface of this guy. This guy is the quarter size, a little bit thicker than the quarter, that is standalone, and it will have a light emitting diode to play with it. Is red or green, red for presence of the virus, and green for not. And it can also be paired with your smartphone, transmit the data there. And this is the structure of the sensor. So this is the coronavirus. These are those single-strand DNAs that are specifically designed to attach themselves to the spiking proteins on the coronavirus. These red ones are spiking proteins. There are two kinds, as I mentioned, S1 and S2. And once they get trapped in the device, then the electrical signal that generated by the presence of the virus can be detected and then sent for processing. And there's another version of that is based on kind of zero power naked eye colorimetric sensor, and that is if you have a surface with patches of let's say gold or some other metals we can do, and then the virus is present, it kind of lifts up these patches, and the effective color of piece of plastic that this is deposited on changes. So once there is a change, then you know that there is a coronavirus present. So this is naked eye. It doesn't need any cell phone. It doesn't need any electronics. You can detect it yourself whether the environment has virus. You can take like dust off tables and put it on the sensor, and it will tell you whether it is safe or not. And this is our second prototype that we just fabricated. These are a bunch of pieces of glasses with 100 sensors on each of them. The sensors are somewhere in the middle there. And this is the scanning electron microscope image of those sensors. And we are testing this with heat inactivated coronavirus. That is the one that we are allowed to use in an educational environment. And then later on next week, we are going to try these with samples that are collected from infected patients in university hospitals in the University of Utah, and try them with active live. Well, viruses are never live, but they're active. So active viruses next week. So that's where we are.
Cool. So as early as next week, you said you're going to get to actually see, you're going to get to actually see if it is detecting in the way that you.
Yeah. So right now, all we are doing is we have these heat inactivated viruses. Mm-hmm. So these are still viral, but they're not as bad as the active viruses. So later, actually next week, we are going to try to test these sensors with actual samples from patients that are infected with the coronavirus. And so the idea is to kind of develop it using not so bad stuff. These are heat inactivated viruses, and then once we are sure that they're working, then try it with actual samples. And then the next stage is fabricate another prototype device that we have to modify the sensor structure, and then use those with actual people talking and speaking into the sensor. For that, we need some other permissions so that we can access those patients in real time and have our sensors tested.
And so to me, this sounds, kind of in contrast with our current testing system, which UVU Health is doing an amazing job, getting samples and testing. But my understanding is it still takes a couple days to get those results back. And so in this, I can see people can carry it around with them and then, fit on it and know immediately and be able to quarantine themselves.
Right. So we are detecting the whole virus. We are not decomposing the virus to its kind of viral components and RNA and genetic components. So we are detecting the whole virus. That's why it is fast. We don't have any dead volume or dead weight in our sensor to prevent it, to slow down the speed. So it directly comes and sits there. If you have large arrays of these sensors, I showed you an example of 100 sensors on a small couple of millimeter square area, and immediately you can detect them. So detection is like under 1 minute. In other cases where they are well known and they are used right now, they basically put the virus, they have to go through lysis process, kind of decompose it into different components, and then look at the genetic part, the RNA part. Those are gold standard of sensing. It takes long time. They take a long time, but they're gold standards. In other words, their false positives and false negatives are very, very low. In our case, there may be false positives and false negatives, maybe 5% or so. But by repeated use of the sensor on yourself, let's suppose that I am infected with coronavirus and I check it with this device and it says, nope, you don't have a virus. And then I can check it another couple of hours. And then the likelihood of detecting it in subsequent testing becomes larger and larger, unless the sensor is completely dead, in which case you have to kind of change it. But if the sensor is working, then at some point it will detect it. If I kind of try it on myself 3 or 4 times, and if the virus is there, then it is going to give the expected reading. So the existing tests take a long time. Some of them are gold standards. They are the best in the market, but they're not fast. And by kind of doing the sensor that detects the whole virus, we have made it very fast. And then by kind of repeated use, we can also address its false positives and false negatives.
That's amazing. Are there, besides the Zika technology that you have been developing before you kind of converted it to test the COVID-19 virus. Are there other types of sensors like this, or is this a new way to be able to detect viruses?
As far as I know, this approach is very new. The kind of viral sensors, biosensors to detect different analytes, different biomarkers and stuff, they have been around for a long time. But this is new in the sense that it introduces direct electrical measurements into detection of the whole virus. So there are two things: the whole virus and use electrical techniques. And electrical techniques are extremely sensitive. They are 1 part in trillion sensitivity versus optical techniques and other techniques that exist for optical sensing. And those are like 1 part in 10,000, or at most, or at best, 1 part in a million. So this is a million times better than optical techniques that are used for biomedical sensing. There are some optical techniques that are a lot more sensitive, but they are not usually used for biomedical sensing. Electrical techniques are more sensitive. They are really easy to implement with all these powerful processors that we have in our cell phones. And people have been working on these electrical techniques for a long time. So they have been well developed, and there are lots of devices that one and scheme that one can use. So our sensor is based on quantum mechanical electron tunneling through the virus. It's kind of a mouthful, but simply what it is that you make sure that the virus is there and you pass a current through it, and different kind of potentials, there are different peaks for the current. And then those kind of identify what kind of a sensor what kind of a virus you're detecting, or if you're detecting anything at all, or if it's saliva.
And I mean, because this is amazing. I mean, I can imagine this, you know, you can have it in rural areas, especially that, you know, that no power version of the sensor. So is like, do you imagine that this, you know, would be cost prohibitive, or is it like an expensive kind of device, or do you think it could be widely used?
I think it can be really inexpensive if you produce it in large scale. There is no expensive inherent material in here. So the aptamers or the single strand DNAs, now they're expensive, but when you kind of scale it, they are like any other polymers that can be produced inexpensively. So there is no inherent kind of precious thing inside this other than the arrangement of different components. So at large scale, it can be very inexpensive, especially the colorimetric one. That can be produced for a few cents, actually. Yeah, the electronic ones may be $5, $10 in package form, and in the market maybe $60. But the naked eye colorimetric one is really expensive. So it can be produced, you know, inexpensively and provided to people to get a handle on their environment and themselves and myself. So,
well, I think that's amazing. We kind of touched on this, but in your mind, sorry, we just had a question which distracted me. So my understanding is the same sensor can be used multiple times, yeah?
Right. So that is the plan. And the idea is that if you look at the way the virus goes into the sensor, there are 2 parts to it. One is the aptamer has to be there, and the aptamer has certain strength of binding with the device, and that strength is about 2.5 electron volts. So let's suppose just look at that at 2.5 in some units, and then the virus binds with the aptamer, and that is 0.1. So that is like 20 times, whatever, 25 times smaller. So it is possible, and viruses, they have like negative charge on them. They're applying a negative voltage to the sensor, we can repel them. And once they become untethered from the molecule, from the single strand unit, then it is easy to remove them. So that is the procedure. So by applying an electrical pulse, that's negative charge that repels the virus, and then the virus will be easily removed from there on, and then reset the sensor. So this is kind of working, but you have to make it better so that the debris and stuff can be removed without flushing it with water. Electrostatically remove everything, so it resets the sensor and makes it available for However, even if it doesn't work, just unplugging the sensor chip and plugging another one, these are very inexpensive at large scale. It's not a big deal.
Right.
And the third point is that if the sensor senses the coronavirus, right? That's only when it needs to be reset. But if I try it on myself and it detects the coronavirus in me, the first thing I'm going to do is go to a hospital, to a doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So resetting the sensor is farthest from my mind at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't detect the coronavirus in me, then I don't need to reset the sensor. So it can be used till it detects an event and then it needs to be reset. So in whatever form you use it, I think it will provide a good service to the person who's using it.
Yeah, and we touched on this in the beginning, but in your mind, what would something like this, how would this help improve, like, moving forward, opening up communities? How is this going to benefit our communities?
So let me give you a personal example. So I go to a grocery shop to do my shopping. If I have the sensor, I can sense the air, to see if there are any exhaled coronavirus in the environment. And I touch some surfaces. I can take a swab and put it on, take some dust particles from the tables and put it on the sensor and see if it's safe. Or if somebody sneezes when I am in the shop, and then I get really scared, start analyzing whether the guy is healthy or not healthy or whatever. If I have this, I can immediately sense it. So from personal point of view, it gives me peace of mind. From kind of intelligently reopening the country or opening it further, it gives the same kind of peace of mind to people that will use it. Especially on myself, so if I suspect that I have some symptoms and I don't really know what's going on, I can test that myself. And in crowded spaces, if I go to a movie theater, I can check it in there. And also it can be used for tracing, right? So especially paired with a cell phone, there is a GPS stamp on that event. And then later on, if I develop the detection, then the cell phone can trace it back and find out how many other cell phones were close by and inform them, or there are many different scenarios that we can come up with at that point.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, I think, is there anything else that we haven't talked about? Because I think this is really exciting, and especially, as you move forward and get to start testing it.
Yeah, so the only new development is to come up with a system that not only detects the coronavirus itself, but also detects the biomarkers in the saliva, and also monitors the oxygen content in the blood, the saturation, oxygen pressure, and also monitors the temperature, with a thermometer. These are all readily available sensors, and maybe also measures the blood pressure. So come up with a little bit more complete picture of the health status of an individual. And if the infection with the coronavirus is there, then find out what the stage it is and whether it's severe or not severe, symptomatic or not. And if there is no infection with coronavirus, basically decide that this person needs more sleep, or or some other things is causing him to not feel good or not feel good. So that kind of overall sensor package, I'm also interested in putting that together and then working on that. So that's another kind of piece of this extension of the coronavirus sensor system.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm so excited to, keep getting updates on this and hear how this goes. But thank you so much for talking with us. It was really great.
Thanks for having me. Nice meeting you guys all. Yeah, have a nice weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.